252. Hereby, Dummies argues that the power of our emotions to affect rational behavior and decision-making is an important factor and proposes the idea that rational decision-making actually depends on prior emotional processing. Damasio, Bishara 2005, p. 336. In this relation, an emotion is defined as a collection of changes in body and brain states triggered by a dedicated brain system that responds to specific contents of one's perceptions, actual or recalled, relative to a particular object or event. op.cit. p. 339. Emotions are thus a key factor in the interaction between environmental stimulus and human decision processes, and the process of deciding advantageously is not only logical but also emotional. op.cit. p. 368. Emotion and rationality are, in other words, inextricably interconnected. It is, however, important to note that emotions are not a substitute for reason, but rather that emotions assist reasoning and therefore are an important factor to take into consideration. Duplessis 2011, p. 17. The marketing mix assumes its function on a rational level in the mind of the consumer. However, corresponding with the notion of the intuitive consumer, emerging research suggests that sound and rational decision-making, in fact, depends on prior accurate emotional processing. Damasio, Bishara 2005, p. 336. Marketing has traditionally concentrated on the value and competitive advantages of a product or service. However, a more holistic approach to marketing, including the emotional component of the decision-making process, is gaining considerable ground in contemporary marketing. Suamala et al. 2012, p. 12. This line of research corresponds very well with Kotler's latest notion of marketing, Marketing 3.0, in which he argues for a need of companies to address consumers as whole human beings, which he defines as consisting of four components: physical body, mind, heart and spirit. Kotler et al. 2010, p. 34. In other words, Kotler now argues for the need of companies to address the emotions of their customers and aim to understand their anxieties and their desires if they want to succeed in the contemporary marketing landscape. Consumers have arguably changed significantly during the past decades, changes that include increased skepticism towards business, greater assertiveness, greater sophistication, and less loyalty to companies and individual brands. Saltman 2003, p. XX. New research has also emerged within marketing, arguing for the necessity of taking both the rational and emotional aspects of human nature into consideration. Marketing, it has been contended, has not undergone the same degree of significant changes, as marketers still, more or less, use the same methods for understanding a different consumer. op.cit. p. X. It is thus only natural to hypothesize that new and, perhaps, more reliable and effective market research methods would be embraced with enthusiasm by marketing practitioners. 4.2 The brave new world of neuromarketing. Neuromarketing can be considered a sub-area of neuroeconomics, as the practice springs from research initially related to economic relevant behavior. Neuroeconomics emerged from the crossing of boundaries between economics, psychology, and neuroscience, and its original outset was to investigate a large number of theories of decision-making, bearing irrationality and emotions in mind, in an effort to advance models of choice and decision and to simply better understand people's economic behavior. Rostakini 2009, p. 672. However, instead of just focusing on decision-making processes, neuromarketing is also concerned with evaluating whether a person will respond positively to marketing efforts and potential impact of marketing elements. 38 And can therefore be considered as a radical and much more specific subcategory of neuroeconomics. Belden 2008, p. 249. Neuromarketing emerged in the early 2000s and quickly gained great popularity, both within academic and business fields. Fisher et al. 2010, p. 231. Despite the emerging nature of neuromarketing, no particular scholar can be credited as the architect of the practice. The first studies using neuroscientific tools to link affect and electrical patterns in the brain date back to 1979, more in 2011, p. 133, and the application of neuroscience to branding and consumer psychology can be traced even further back. In the book, The Hidden Persuaders, published in 1957, the author explores the possibilities of using the insights of psychiatry and the social sciences to influence our choices and our behavior. Packard 1957, p. 1. Packard suggests motivational research and the depth approach, the whys of our behavior, as a means to research and to approach consumers' unconscious minds, as he acknowledged that consumers' actual buying behavior often differ from what they say themselves about their buying patterns and buying motivation. op.cit. Pages 413. Returning to our time. The earliest reported use of the word neuromarketing is claimed to be in a press release in 2002 by the American advertising company Bright House, where they announced the creation of a business division using the neuroscientific method fMRI for marketing research. Fisher et al. 2010, p. 231. In 2002, Professor Seligman published a first book on the subject, How Customers Think, which is likely to have been a great contributor to the increasing popularity and attention the practice began receiving. 4.3 The Neuro of Neuromarketing. If the human brain were so simple that we could understand it, we would be so simple that we couldn't. Dr. Emerson M. Pugh, 1977, p. 154-39. Throughout our thesis, we refer to experiments and methods from the realm of neurology. In this section we will therefore attempt to provide an overview of the main functions and methods involved in the neuroscientific part of neuromarketing. However, given the complex nature of the human brain, and bearing the wisdom of Pugh in mind, an exhaustive description of all aspects is outside the remit of this thesis, and readers are kindly directed to more specialized texts for further details. Ledoux 1998, Bars, Gage 2013, Carter 1998. Put in a very simplistic way, neuromarketing is the fusion between marketing and neuroscience, and the idea is that through neuroscientific methods, it is possible to watch physical circuits of the consumer decision-making processes and certain emotional behavior. Fugate 2007, p. 385. It is the attempt to pinpoint how and where our brain reacts to marketing and advertising stimuli and the attempt to measure the impact of such stimuli. From a general perspective, neuroscientific methods are used to study consumer behavior, the decision-making processes, emotions and purchase decisions, and marketing phenomena through analyses of the underlying neurobiology. Javer et al. 2013, p. 2. The field of neuroscience seeks to understand the biological basis of behavior through the study of the nervous system. Jenko et al. 2013, p. 9. It concerns the study of the structure and function of the brain, this being distinct from the study of the mind, which belongs to the area of psychology and cognitive science. Parachin 2008, p. 304. Neuroscientific tools are used in neuromarketing in a pursuit of a greater understanding of the relationship between stimulus and response, and of complex thoughts such as decision-making, reasoning, object depiction, emotion and memory, which overlap marketing concepts such as positioning, brand loyalty, hierarchy of effects and consumer response. op.cit. Pages 303-304. Neuromarketing is, in other words, the attempt of mapping brain activity in relation to buying. In neuromarketing, systems neuroscience, which is the study of how different brain areas or complex brain systems interact, is the main focus. Ryutigam 2005, p. 350. A critical distinction is made between consumer neuroscience, referring to academic research at the intersection of neuroscience and consumer psychology, and neuromarketing, referring to commercial interest in neurophysiological tools. Javer et 40 al. 2013, p. 3. There are several ways to measure physiological responses to advertising. Still, there are currently only 3 well-established and non-invasive methods for measuring and mapping brain activity in this relation: functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, electroencephalography, EEG, and magnetoencephalography, MEG. More in 2011, p. 133. Due to their non-invasive nature, these 3 methods represent the bulk of studies conducted within the field of neuromarketing. 4.3.1 Functional magnetic resonance imaging. The method of fMRI is the newest of the 3. It is also the most prolific of all brain imaging techniques, as it is relatively easy to implement and completely non-invasive. Senior et al. 2007, p. 155. fMRI offers a method for tracking changes in neural activity and is the dominant technique for the study of brain function, as it is able to visualize networks of neuroanatomical structures involved in complex information processing. Vus, Pelfrey 2013, p. 1. In a standard fMRI procedure, a test subject is placed in an MRI scanner, which is used to capture a series of baseline images of the brain region of interest, both before the subject is performing a cognitive task, such as watching a piece of advertising, and during this task. More in 2011, p. 134. The first set of images is then subtracted from the second set, hereby making it possible to point out which brain areas have become active during a cognitive task. Saltman 2003, pages 117-118. The most common fMRI technique is the blood oxygen level dependent, BOLD technique, which identifies brain areas with a high level of blood flow, OP.CIT. P. 117. In brief, this technique is built on the assumption that areas of high neural activity have higher blood flow than areas of low neural activity. When confronted with particular experimental stimulus, such as advertisements for a product or brand, areas of a test subject's brain receive more oxygenated blood flow than it does at rest time. The oxygenated blood flow will increase locally within an active region of the brain, making fMRI an ideal tool for locating cortical activity. Senior et al. 2007. Pages 155-159. The major advantage of fMRI is that it is able to image deep brain structures, especially those involved in emotional responses. The idea is thus that through the BOLD technique, scientists will be able to derive whether some advertisements effectively activate certain brain regions, elicits positive emotions and past memory, and encodes new memory. Saltman 2003, p. 118. 41. 4.3.2 Electroencephalography. Another approach to measuring brain activity is EEG. The cells responsible for the biological basis of our cognitive responses are called neurons, brain cells in layman's speech, and along with synaptic connections, these represent the basis of neural circuitry. More in 2011, p. 133. In the presence of a particular stimulus, such as a piece of advertising, neurons fire and produce a tiny electrical current, which can be amplified. These electrical currents have numerous patterns of frequencies called brain waves, which are linked to different states of stimulation, IBID. When using EEG, numerous electrodes, up to 256, are placed in various locations on the scalp of the test subject, hereby making it possible to record brain waves at up to 10,000 times per second, IBID. The limitation of EEG is that it does not have good spatial solution, which is the ability of any image-forming device to distinguish small details of an object. Consequently, EEG cannot precisely locate where neurons are firing in the brain, as the electrodes placed on the scalp cannot detect electrical signals that are located much beyond the cortex, which is the outer layer of the cerebrum, IBID. Through an EEG device, it is possible to collect data anytime and anywhere, as the device used for EEG is portable. Subjects can therefore be observed in a natural setting, such as when shopping, hereby allowing for the study of consumer reactions to be conducted in a supermarket layout or measuring reactions to a television program in the participant's home environment. Zurowicki 2010, p. 49. 4.3.3 Magnetoencephalography. MEG can be considered a cousin to EEG, as the two use somewhat similar approaches. Instead of placing numerous electrodes on the subject's scalp, a helmet with magnetometers, detectors, installed is placed on the subject's head, OP.CIT. p. 50. It is the argument of MEG that neural processes associated with particular brand choice stimulus can be separated into distinguishable stages through observation of MEG responses. Cody et al. 2001, p. 241. Brain activity is the function of electrochemical signals between neurons and neuronal activity that creates a magnetic field, which can be amplified and then mapped by MEG. More in 2011, p. 134. Obtaining MEG data involves the measurement of these magnetic fields created by the electrical activity of neuronal clusters. Senior et al. 2007, p. 159. MEG can provide information 42 about the beginning of any cortical activity and about the specific frequency by which clusters of neurons fire, IBID. Thus, MEG allows for the study of neural clusters linked to a specific event, such as tasting a particular brand of soda or perceiving a particular advertisement, OP.CIT. p. 163. It is hence the overall ambition to explore whether the sequence of MEG responses may reveal the recruitment of the generic systems needed to affect a given brand choice. Cody et al. 2001, p. 242. It is the ambition and hope that fMRI, EEG and MEG techniques will be able to advance the content and application of standard market research techniques as well as identify and measure consumer reactions to marketing stimuli and hereby comply with the notion of the intuitive consumer model. Saltman 2003, p. 119. 4.4 Current uses of neuromarketing. Numerous different views and opinions on what neuromarketing has been used for and which possibilities it offers prevail, and thus, no consensus about the actual state of the practice seem to exist. In this section, we will shed light on some of the current uses of the practice. We will set out with 3 examples from the motor and the food industry, and then lastly turn our attention to the entertainment industry. Furthermore, we will introduce some of the most well-known neuromarketing agencies, which are also mentioned throughout this thesis. 4.4.1 Hyundai Motors. Hyundai uses EEG tests in the design process of their cars to measure consumers' reactions when looking at specific parts of a car's exterior design. As Mako, manager of brand strategy at Hyundai Motors, expresses it, "We want to know what consumers think about the car before